Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, I think. So I'm joined up here, I'm Mary Ann Winkleman from the Cultural Alliance of York County, and I'm joined by Jennifer Glassmeyer of the Cultural Alliance and Dave Murray of Wilmington Trust. And so since imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, we're going to do the same thing the group did last time, I think it was, the little role play. So we're going to talk about giving while you're living. We are not professional actors, but we had a lot of fun. So, just keep it, relax. Okay. So the thing we're going to do today is, Jennifer's going to be our development officer, and she's meeting with a donor who's in her early 70s, which is me, and that's not very far from the truth. So that's a good thing. So it's kind of a role play for me. That's easy. Donor was previously arranged with her estate plan, and that's Dave is going to play himself. To make a charitable bequest to the organization. Of course, that's the Cultural Alliance, but would like to do more. Specifically, she would like to see the impact of her support during her lifetime, but is unsure about how best to make the donation. So the conversation continues. Jennifer, who knows that she has assets and that she and her late husband had accumulated via retirement plans, savings, and sale of a small business years ago. So we know that. The development officer advises the donor may be able to leverage a tax-exempt status of the activity while making the gift and potentially reduce or avoid her potential tax exposure. That's the magic of this, is the win-win situation. Donor, of course, is very interested in hearing more, and the development officer helps her to get started along that path. So that's going to be the setup. We're going to start with the donor and the officer.
Why don't we start with
you want to say?
Overview.
Sure, go ahead.
Yep. Before we begin, again, my name is David Moran with Wilmington Trust here in York. Show of hands, who is on the development side with a nonprofit joining us here today? Great.
Ooh.
Glad you folks can make it. Who here is an accountant or an attorney? Awesome. I love talking about taxes and estate planning in front of accountants and attorneys. I am neither, by the way. So this is going to be a little nerve-wracking for me. But if we get any technical questions, those folks in the back will be certainly willing to help us here. So when this topic was sort of thrown out, when you start talking about, first of all, can everybody hear me? I've never been told I was quiet, but certainly not by my kids or anything like that. So. When this topic of philanthropy and giving while you're living was thrown out, when you get into the realm of philanthropic giving, especially from my side of the fence, working with clients who are looking to give to nonprofits, there's a lot you could talk about. And you can get very complicated very fast into the world of estate planning when you start talking about different trust structures and beneficiary designations and things like that. And some of that you guys might be familiar with. But what we wanted to focus on today were we'll kind of touch on a third, but really two very, very simple ways that donors can give in a very tax-efficient, powerful manner. And what we're trying to do really for you nonprofit folks is make you aware of it. You probably already are aware of this, but kind of see maybe from our side of the fence, the advisor side of the fence, and clients working with their financial advisors, their accountants, their attorneys, how that conversation looks and what we start looking at when we say, here's how you should give, okay, and the reasons why we might say that. Slide deck is at your, everyone should have one of these. So again, I'm speaking to the opposite side of the fence that you guys sit on. So hopefully from that standpoint, it'll be a little bit enlightening. But what are we seeing here at Wilmington Trust, and maybe some other firms are seeing the same thing as far as charitable giving with our client base? And some of this stuff is true whether we're talking about your average sort of middle income client up to our extremely wealthy clients. I can tell you we're seeing a lot more clients that are more focused on giving while they're alive. We still have clients that are doing sort of the typical charitable bequest within a will, setting up trust for estate planning reasons, but a lot of what folks are doing and coming to us looking for advice is how do I do it now? And a couple of reasons they're telling us behind that. A, they want to see this money in action while they're living. There might be something that they're very passionate about and it might be a capital campaign for a certain project that a nonprofit they're aligned with is doing. They want to see that stuff going on and happening now, and they want to help it get off the ground. It might be a nonprofit that they're personally involved in. So again, seeing the impact of what they're doing from that standpoint while they're living. And we're seeing it sort of shift maybe a little bit away from the pure just legacy type giving, and where your main motivation might have been more estate planning in nature. Now it seems to be truly putting that wealth into action within the communities that their folks are living in. So we see that happening. The other thing is, towards the higher end with higher net worth folks, philanthropy becomes a tool that they are now using as a way to introduce wealth to the next generation, to the heirs. So they develop sort of a family giving program, and this is how they introduce their children to the assets of the family, but also the values of the family, and passing those. Not, don't just give money to the next generation, but give them some guidance on what to do with that money and what it means to have wealth like that. So we're seeing families use philanthropy in that way, and that's leading to some of the strategies we're talking about here today. So if we talk about what are some things that very easy things that can be done, clients can do to give money away efficiently. Of course, everyone knows the IRS gives us some incentives in the form of tax deductions to give money to nonprofits. If you look at page 4, we have a nice little chart there, but I think most people are familiar with. If you donate to a charity, you get to deduct it on your taxes. Okay? So a little bit of incentive there. Depending on who it's going to, there are some limitations there. And that, again, is sort of spelled out on that chart. For most average people like you and me, their giving falls under that, whether it might be to a church or nonprofit, what have you. We're deducting that in sort of this manner. You go up the scale a little bit, and some of this starts to get phased out when you hit certain income thresholds. The government, like anything, the IRS will give you some breaks and some incentives, but only to a certain amount. They're not going to let you get away with too much. So the two very powerful things and big things we're going to hit on today: qualified charitable distributions and gifts of appreciated stock. You folks in the nonprofit world, are you starting to see a lot of this? Are you seeing a lot of this? Are you getting more donations in that way than you are with straight cash? No? Still a lot of people just giving cash.
Well, I would say that back before 2008, we got a lot more stock gifts in than what we're getting today, so I'm hoping that will increase.
Yeah, this weird thing happened in 2008 that made that less attractive. But around the qualified charitable distributions, that is, right now it's permanent. As permanent as anything can be in the tax world. For a few years there, they kind of were renewing it as they went, which was always a pain in the butt for us, because clients were waiting until the very end to see if they did it again, which they did, so we were always scrambling at the end of the year. So I'm sure you're starting to see this happen, but let's talk about some of the reasons why we might want to do this. Qualified charitable distributions. And the good thing, well, back up. The good thing about both of these is this is important for donors of every level. So this is important for the donors that are giving you $1,000 a year. This is important for the donors that are giving you $100,000 a year. All right? These are sources that could fund both. Qualified charitable distributions, when all of us working here, we're saving in 401ks or 403bs or IRAs or something of that nature, or we're putting away money for retirement. It's tax-deferred growth. And when we hit 59 and a half, or when we enter retirement, we're going to start pulling that money out. Some folks don't pull out. They're not leaning on that as much, or they've still got money accumulating there. Every one of us, when we hit 70 and a half, we're going to have to start taking money out of that. Again, the IRS will give you a tax break while you're working, but when you hit a certain age, they want their taxes. So they're going to start making you take that out. And the amount you have to take out is figured each year based on your life expectancy and a certain factor. So you're basically told by the IRS you're taking this much out, whether you need it or not. Some folks do, a lot of folks don't. Whether you need it or not, you're taking it out, and that's all income to you. You haven't paid taxes on it yet. It's not capital gains like stocks or anything like that. This is income. So it's being taxed at whatever your effective tax rate is. And a lot of times, it might bump you up into a higher tax bracket. So a few years ago, we got this qualified charitable distribution rule put into effect. Basically, as long as the contribution is made from your IRA account, with your advisor, directly to the charity, and you don't take receipt of it, you're not taxed on it. And you can do up to $100,000 a year. Very powerful for folks who don't need that income. So say you're a high income, you've got a high income donor who's in a very high tax bracket. Let's just say they're at 39%. When all is said and done, every dollar that they take in above that, they're only seeing 60 cents of it. Well, now if they give it to you, the true cost, if they give you $100,000 from their IRA, their true cost is only $60,000. So then they've just magnified their gift, and it's a win-win for everybody. On the other side, as I said, this works for high-income, big donors, and your normal donors. Same thing. If you've got a donor that gives you regularly $500 or $1,000 a year, and they just write a check from their checking account, they could do the same thing from their RMD and still get the same tax break, albeit on a smaller scale, but it still applies. So again, these are things that you can talk to your donors about that really is completely independent of how much they're giving you. Gifts of appreciated stock. Along the same lines, I see this a lot, again, with some of our older clientele, they bought a stock in 1980 and haven't sold it. Well, now, we as advisors and money managers, we're sitting on this account that's got these positions in there that we really can't sell without taking a major tax hit for that client. Then they come to us and say, well, I want to give $10,000 to my school or what have you, or the Cultural Alliance.
There you go. Now you're talking. Now you're talking.
This becomes a very attractive source of funds because now we can gift, once again, directly. We send that stock directly to the Cultural Alliance.
Yes.
And they can sell it immediately, and they don't pay taxes, so they don't have to worry about the capital gains. Again, if that client's in a very high capital gain situation, they've just avoided that. As money managers, a lot of times we're happy because we've gotten some of that position, which might be a concentration or something, out of there. And the Cultural Alliance is happy because they just got another nice gift. Again, the intent is there to make the gift. These are the ways, two important ways to make it very efficiently. Okay? Any questions about that? An attorney. Distribution? Yeah.
I've had numerous fights with some financial advisors that they will not do this for the client. And I don't know what the downside is from the financial advisor role, other than they have to cut another check.
That's a good question. Because quite frankly, I don't see the downside either. If the assets are available and the client doesn't need them for income otherwise, this is sort of a no-brainer source to make that gift.
I mean, I may have a answer. There are some advisors that don't want to lose control of the asset because they own a fee on it.
That never happens. Come on. I didn't want to bring that up, but yes, that is very true.
I think that's one of the reasons why.
It is. It can be.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, in the scenario that I have is I have a retired teacher who is getting a pension, getting her Social Security, having to take that RMD, and she's not taking any more than the RMD, but her advisor, who's over in Lancaster, refuses to write another check because she only wants to give half of the RMD to the church and not.
So then it becomes a question of he just doesn't want to have to do two transactions to get the RMD
That's
out?
why
Or?
I'm trying to find out what the downside is because I've gone round and round with this advisor.
Control.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
I can tell you that I'm thinking of one client right now. We probably do. He does this every year, and I think we do like 12 different disbursements for him for his various charities and colleges he supports. So, I mean, there's no practical reason why you wouldn't do it. Unfortunately, some of the points you bring up might come into play. Yeah, it's
I'm not doing what's in the client's best interest.
right. So if we have a client or you have a donor that you know is in that situation where they've got a pension, they've got Social Security, and their needs are pretty much met by that, but now they're taking this RMD and they have charitable intent, that's probably the place to look first to start doing it from a tax standpoint. So, good question.
That was a good one.
Any others? All right. The next page we're going to touch on briefly because this is where it tends to get a little bit more complicated. But again, if our topic is giving while we're living, we can briefly touch on a couple of strategies to get a little bit more advanced, and the motivation sort of changes for the client from maybe purely altruistic and giving funds to a nonprofit to really these start to become estate planning tools. When you start talking about charitable remainder trusts and gift annuities and things like that, those are mechanisms, and I'll focus on sort of the gift annuity and the charitable lead trust. These are mechanisms by which a client can take and make a much larger gift into a trust vehicle or a gift annuity. Charity receives the income for a certain number of years, and then the assets revert back to the donor or his heirs at the donor's death. Lots of other moving parts to it. Again, it's done more from the standpoint, from a client standpoint, is I have a charitable intent, but I also have an estate problem, so I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone. So that's when we start getting into these. This is going to be much more applicable. While the other two are applicable across your donor spectrum, this one's probably only applicable to the higher end of your donor spectrum. Okay. Any other questions on, again, really taking the whole universe of charitable planning that can be done and drilling it down into what I think are, under the topic of giving while you're living, the two most powerful in my mind right now are that QCD, the Qualified Charitable Distribution, and the use of appreciated stock as a source for gifting. I can tell you again, in what we're doing with clients, cash is, having them write a check from their checking account is sort of the last thing, a last resort. If we, don't have the funds somewhere else to do it, then that's sort of the last resort. But these are two very powerful things, and another thing to talk to your donors about when you sit down with them and you're trying to get them to go from 500 to 1,000 or go from 50,000 to 100,000. These are two things that you can start to talk about. Yes?
So I apologize if this is a question that you don't need to know because you've been coming to us, but I started my job today and I'm coming from the Baltimore area. So I'm just curious, just in and around this particular area, is there any common definition of what a high income donor might be or a smaller income donor? I don't know if that's a right question to ask. I don't know how to answer it. I'm just asking because it seems like there's probably some differentiation.
I'll defer to our other nonprofit partners in the room.
Well, I'll just speak for us. I think it would depend on the charities, shall we say, clientele or their donor base. My large donor might be a $40,000 donor, but like college, their large donor might be $1 million. So I think it's defined by you. We have our lead gifts. That's who we target. We know pretty much their potential, and that's a lead gift, a large gift for us. But that might be nothing to a college or a church or someone else, a larger institution. So I think you kind of look at your donor base and determine that and act accordingly with whomever you're speaking to.
Typically, the way we look at it from our side of the fence is we separate it a little bit differently. It's not necessarily dollar-wise, but it's annual giving versus legacy giving. So annual giving, you've got clients who support the same charities or various charities in their capital campaigns and things like this. They do it every year. So these become very powerful ways of which to do that. Then you have clients, it might be the same clients, they also have a legacy plan around their philanthropic wants. So that's when they start making gifts within their will. They start looking at charitable trusts. They might make a charity the beneficiary of an IRA or a 401k or a life insurance policy or something like that. So we kind of break it out between the annual and the legacy, or the annual and the sort of at-death type gifts. Mm-hmm. Okay. No other questions? That was easy. You guys are really easy. All right. Well, I think with that, we're going to move into our Oscar caliber.
Right. I had we are so well rehearsed. I had no idea you had such a tremendous intro to this. So this is great. And it occurs to me, so the donor's age of 70 was targeted because
Very intentional, yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just becoming eligible to take this,
Right.
right? Okay. Okay. So
We're going to
here we
start
are.
off.
Sure.
Hello, Mrs. Winkleman.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to see me today here at the Cultural Alliance of York County. First, I want to thank you. You have continued support throughout the years. You've been generously giving since 1999 when we started our campaigns. What about the Cultural Alliance makes you want to give over and over again?
Well, I've watched you year to year over all these years, and I've seen your progression on your support in the community. You're just doing great things to make this a wonderful place to live, so I want to remain a part of it, and you can count on me going forward.
Excellent. Each year, the Cultural Alliance funds hundreds of events and programs that take place here in our community. And it's because of you and all the other organizations and individuals and their gifts that make this possible. These offerings enrich our quality of life, bringing people together and celebrate the things that makes York a unique place. I know you are aware that we do corporate fundraising. We have 8 partner agencies. However, did you know we distribute over $70,000 directly to the community through the Creative Impact Awards?
I do. I've been watching those awards, and I love lots of them. I personally attended the big swing thing dance.
Excellent.
I'm a big swing dancer. You probably didn't know that about me, but the Unforgettable Big Band was amazing, and I know that you funded that event. And I'm planning to go to Light Up Night. I know you're going to be part of that. So that's just
Wonderful.
like 2 examples of just wonderful things you're doing to make this such a wonderful place for all ages to live. So that's, yes, I am aware of
I
those
am so
ones.
glad you're taking advantage of all those opportunities throughout our little city. It makes it easy to support things in your lifetime that impact so many. When we spoke earlier, we were reviewing your assets that you and your late husband had accumulated via your retirement and your savings and the sale of Winkleman's Bike Shop a few years back. Did you have an opportunity to try out that bicycle art, making it at York Fest?
That was a nice tie-in, yes. I was very glad to see that at York Fest. I could hop on my bicycle and make a beautiful painting. And I did that with my friends. We were sort of a competition there. And my painting is right up there on the mantle with Morty's ashes. So I'm really pleased about that, yes.
Oh, glad to see you still enjoy
Yes,
biking.
absolutely.
I'm sure on many of your travels you passed some art, sculptures, and projects in the making. Can we talk about your 2017 gift to the Cultural Alliance?
Yes, I'm anxious to talk about that.
You know we have a match that increases the gift to the campaign. It's really a way to leverage your gift.
Wait, you have a match?
We do.
You have a match?
Yes, we have
So-
2 anonymous donors that give to our contribution every year.
So if I give you an increase, you'll match that 1-to-1 and double it?
Exactly.
That's a great opportunity. I definitely want to do that.
But I also know you love to see your money at work while you're living. Have you spoken to your financial advisor?
Well, that's a really good point. I give you what I can out of my checkbook every year, and I'm hoping, I know there's something going on with my IRA. I just don't understand it, but I think maybe I'll make an appointment with Dave and see what he can explain to me, because I'd really like to take advantage of this matching gift.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to seeing you again.
I'll get back to you as soon as Dave has things ready for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dave, can I have an appointment with you, please?
All right, so we'll cut to scene.
Cut scene 2.
Cut to scene 2 here.
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right. So Marianne, thanks for coming in today. I got your message regarding the looking at making a donation to the Cultural Alliance. What were you thinking this year?
Well, I've given them a certain amount every year, you know, a few thousand every year, but she tells me about this match, and I want to do something really meaningful, and I want to do it now while I'm living. I don't want to they're already in my will and all that, that's good, but I want to see something happen while I'm living.
Okay. Great. A lot of our clients are starting to do more of the annual gifting. So what were you thinking in terms of a donation?
You think I could pull together about $50,000?
Oh, that's certainly a large increase
It
over what
is.
you have done previously, but I think we can make it work. As you know, in our conversations, between the pension and the Social Security and the investment portfolio, you're extremely well served as far as income. And we also mentioned that this year, you now have to start taking your required minimum distributions from the retirement accounts, which, at least looking at this year, you really don't need for income. So I think maybe that might be a source. The other thing we have within that investment account that you and Morty saved over the years and invested over time, we've got a lot of positions that are really appreciated. And stocks have done well, but we've owned them for a long time.
We have.
So I think that might be another potential source. So do you have any restrictions on the gift that you've talked to Cultural Alliance with? Anything that we need to know about in that respect?
No, I just love what they're doing, and I want to give it to them unrestricted because they've made wise choices in the past, and I trust them to use it in a good way.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, then I think we can take advantage of a couple of IRS rules here. First, why don't we take a look at the appreciated stock? I think there's a couple positions there. If we do $25,000 from that account and just send, what will happen is I'll send the stock directly to Cultural Alliance. They'll be able to sell it, and they won't have to pay the capital gains. You'll avoid paying those capital gains, and then you'll be able to take a charitable deduction on top of that to boot.
I love that plan. Morty was always concerned about the taxes we were going to have to pay when we cash that out. So that's a great plan. I love that.
Great
Sounds like
source.
a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Wonderful.
The other win-win we can do regarding that RMD, since we don't really need it this year to fund your lifestyle and your travel, if we take that and send it directly to, take $25,000 of that and send it directly to Cultural Alliance, you won't have to report that as income.
I have that much and I can do that?
We could do that. Wow. We could do that. And the benefit of this is that keeps the income off of your top line on the taxes, and that's even more powerful than just taking a deduction. So really, if we look at this, we've created the $50,000, and it didn't cost you $50,000. It cost you far less than that.
And it's not going to affect my living because I still want to travel.
Nope, nope.
Okay.
And if this becomes something that you want to make an annual tradition with
Yes.
Cultural Alliance or another one, we can always revisit and see what's available that year using these two mechanisms.
Good. I love that plan.
Okay.
Terrific.
Well, I'll get started on making this happen.
Okay. Well, I'll just give Jennifer back a call.
All right.
Thanks so much. Applause.
All right, well, as sort of corny as that was, it is a pretty fair representation of what happens behind the scenes on our end, and I'm sure on your end too, when you're making the pitch for these donations. And being in the development side with a nonprofit, very similar to what I do. I'm on the development side as well. And have you ever heard of the concept of an elevator pitch? Mm-hmm. Anybody who's ever done sales knows what an elevator pitch is. Two very quick things you can work into that elevator pitch. These aren't long, complicated presentations you need to give to a donor, but it's something that, you know, if you've got 10 minutes with somebody at a cocktail party, something you can bring up a little quick. And hopefully that's what we've been able to provide here, two very quick ideas that can make a difference when you're having those conversations with your donors. Again, any questions?
If she were to take $50,000 from her IRA and give it to the charity, is that in lieu of RMD? Does it count against her? Or she still need to take the RMD?
It would count towards the RMD. You could certainly do more.
No, I know that, but her RMD, let's say RMD is $20,000, but she's given $50,000.
That would satisfy that RMD for that year. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if that's satisfied or not.
Yeah, whether you take it out to...
Well, she take it out, or she carving it off directly to the charity?
You carve it directly. Both of these scenarios, the funds have to go directly to the charity.
She's not getting her distribution running check.
No, that's a very good point. If as soon as a person takes receipt of that, it's automatically taxable. You cannot have receipt of the funds. So it has to go directly from the plan custodian or the IRA custodian directly to the nonprofit.
In the case of stock, in our case, our policy is, and probably most organizations is, we cash it out immediately. So you have to have a relationship. So they transfer the stock to wherever that magic happens, and then we get the check from them.
Yeah, I would say most
Yep.
are pretty constant in that, yeah.
Good question. Anything else?
All right. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
We've given you all the gift of time back here today.
I think, Victoria, you want to wrap it up? All right.
I was told I need to stay right next to you.
Oh, because I'm Mike?
Because you're Mike. So we're going to be best friends, David and I. I'm talking right into the mic. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope that you found today's presentation to be incredibly valuable. I know I did. And one of the things that we bring to you is the opportunity to build relationships with these professional advisors. I particularly appreciated Amanda bringing that up about the trust in a relationship with a professional advisor and doing what is best interest of the donor as well as the organization. So from my perspective, if I were unhappy with potentially what a professional advisor was saying, I might ask my donor, would they mind getting another opinion? Would you be willing to have somebody else, a third party, take a look at what your plan is just to make sure that you are really optimizing what you're doing? Mm-hmm. So it's a real opportunity for you then to have your point well made that yes, this is the right thing to do, or no, it isn't, but at least you're satisfying yourself that what is going on with the professional advisor relationship is definitely on the up and up, as we would like it all to be. So I have to encourage you now to fill out your evaluation forms. Please give us information on future topics, what you would like to see. A big round of applause for Mary Ann, for Jennifer, and for Dave. Thank you so much.